Okay, so this is a word problem we're going to solve together. So go ahead and pause the video, take a moment to read the word problem to yourself. Okay, now that you're back, let's take a look at what the question is asking us. Which expression can be used to show that there are 15 light bulbs in the case? So essentially, we're looking for one of these equations to equal 15. That's what it's asking us. But I want to go back and talk about some of the things on these bullet points before we look to solve these equations. Because sometimes these steps might help us in understanding the problem, right? So let's look at the first bullet. The case contained 3 boxes of light bulbs with 8 light bulbs in each box. So this is a really simple thing that we can draw out. We have 3 boxes of light bulbs with 8 light bulbs in each box, right? So essentially we have 3 groups of 8, or 3 times 8. That would be one of our first parts of the equation, right? So we can look in our answer choices, and we should see it 3 times 8 somewhere in there. Let's keep going to the second bullet point. Margaret threw 2 of these light bulbs in the trash because they were damaged. So when you throw something away, you are subtracting it. You're taking it away. So there's a minus 2. And the last bullet point, she took 7 of the light bulbs out of the case. So when you take something out of the case, you're also subtracting it. Oops, I'm sorry, that should be a 7. She took 7 out. So I have a 3 times 8, a minus 2, and a minus 7. Those are some of the operations that I should see in these equations. Now, obviously, I'm looking for the one that's going to give me 15, right? 15 light bulbs is what I'm looking for. So I can go through and use PEMDAS to solve these and find the right answer. So let's erase this. And we will start with the first one. Okay, so we look at F, and we're going to solve that one to see if it gives us 15. That's about as best as I can do, I think, erasing. Okay, let's go with blue. Okay, so for F, we have 3 times 8 minus 2 plus 7. Okay, so we talked about PEMDAS and what it means, right? So you should write it on every problem. And since I'm low on room here, I'll maybe shrink this a little bit, and I'll put it up here on top. So we have a bracket, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, close brackets. Right, the only thing that I circle here is to show you that multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction happened, or we look for those left to right, whichever one happens first. Multiplication or division, then we look at addition and subtraction. And we'll talk about that here in a second. So let's look at our problem. We start on the left side of the problem. So we're starting here. This is the left, and we're going to the right, just like we read a book. So we look for brackets. We have no brackets in this equation, so we can skip that and go to parentheses. We go to P for parentheses, we see no parentheses. E for exponents, we don't see any exponents here. Now we go to multiplication, division. It's multiplication or division, whichever comes first. So here we see that the first operation we have is multiplication. So that's the first one we solve. So we solve 3 times 8, which is 24. And then everything else, every operation, every number comes down. So the minus comes down, the 2 comes down, the addition comes down, and the 7 comes down. So now we have a new equation of 24 minus 2 plus 7. So as soon as we start, we have to redo the whole PEMDAS over again. So we start at the beginning, no brackets, no parentheses, no exponents, and now we have no multiplication or division, and then we look at addition and subtraction. Now, even though addition is first in our PEMDAS, it's whatever one comes first, addition or subtraction. So we start on the left, and we go to the right, and we see what is the first operation we see. Well, it's subtraction, and that's okay because it can be addition or subtraction. So now this is the one we solve first. 24 minus 2, which is 22. Bring down the addition and the 7. When we're down to one operation, we can solve. 22 plus 7 is 29. That is not 15, so that means F would, if I can cross that out, not be correct. And you can even write next to it that it's 29. And that's hard, this pen doesn't work very well, but 29 I would write there. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Let's see if I can erase this. Yeah, that works a little better. I erased some of the picture there. Okay, so now let's look at the next one, which is 3, and when you see parentheses like this with one number in it next to another number, basically they're telling you that in here this is a multiplication. So when you see two digits next to each other, one's in parentheses, that's another way to write multiplication. So this is 2 times 7, right? Because when you see a parentheses with one number in it, no operation, just one number, that's telling us that this number in the parentheses is multiplied by the number in front of it, which in this case is 2, right? So we look at PEMDAS. We have no brackets. We do have parentheses, excuse me, but there's no operations. It's just parentheses by itself. So we can skip that because inside these parentheses is only one digit. So we can skip parentheses, no exponents, and now we look at multiplication or division, right? We start on the left, and we go to the right. The first operation we hit is multiplication. So we can multiply those. 3 times 8, 24. Everything else comes down. Minus 2 times 7. Okay? So a new problem means we start PEMDAS over again. We can already skip bracket. We do have a parentheses, but it's only one number. So we skip that. Exponent. Now we're looking for multiplication or division. So we start on the left, go to the right. The first multiplication problem we see is this one right here, because there's, remember, imaginary multiplication there. 2 times 7. So we can solve that equation. 2 times 7 is 14. Bring down the 24 and the subtract. So we're down to one operation, right? So it means we can solve that. 24 minus 14 is 10. Not correct. So G is not correct because it does not equal 15. We're looking for 15 as an answer to this equation. So let's erase this bad boy and go to the next one, which is H. And hopefully these PEMDAS rules are starting to get where you can understand them better. My suggestion is to always write PEMDAS down. Don't try to do this in your head. Don't try to do mental math. You need to follow this strategy, organize your numbers, or else you will get it wrong. Okay, so let's look at the next one. 3 times 8 minus 2 plus 7. Okay, we'll look for brackets. No brackets, so now we have parentheses. We do have parentheses right here. And inside the parentheses, we have one operation. It's addition. It doesn't matter where that is on our list of PEMDAS. It's in the parentheses, so we do that first. So 2 plus 7, that's 9. Everything else comes down. Subtraction, the 8, the multiplication, the 3. So now we have a new equation. Now we need to start PEMDAS again. We still have no brackets. Parentheses are gone because we only had 2 numbers in there and we took care of that. No exponents. So now we go into multiplication division. Start on the left, go to the right. The first operation we see is multiplication. So we can multiply those two. 3 times 8, that's 24. We subtract 9. And we're down to one operation, so we can solve that. 24 minus 9 is 15.